Hey guys, welcome to another Winemaker Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about all things Pinot Noir, or Pinot Noir as the French say. Yes, we're going to learn how to say it, what it means. We're going to have a fun little tasting, talk about styles, where it comes from, what glassware to serve it in, all things Pinot Noir. So stick around, let's get to it. All right, so first up, let's learn how to say Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir. How do you say this word? No one knows how to say it. Well, if you get in that sticky situation and you're just not comfortable with it, try Pinot. Most people will know exactly what you're talking about. Once in a while, you might get somebody that asks you a dumb question like, oh, would you like Pinot Blanc? Nobody's going to ask you that. They're going to know you're talking about Pinot Noir. So let's figure out how you say it. I just said it incorrectly. It is it's a combination of two French words, Pinot and Noir. Pinot is French for pine, and it's referencing the shape of a pine cone, meaning that the cluster of a Pinot Noir grape cluster looks like the shape of a pine cone. That's where the first name comes from. The second name, Pinot Noir grapes are very dark purple, almost black. Noir is French for black. So Pinot, Noir, pine, black, that's where the name comes from. Now let's talk about how you actually say it. I've been saying Pinot Noir, pronouncing the long R. That's incorrect. The first word is Pinot, so you don't pronounce the T, P-I-N-O, or P-E-N-O, if you want to phonetically spell it out. Pinot, the last word Noir, or Noir, actually. You don't pronounce the R at the end. So think of N-U-W-A-H, Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir. Again, just try Pinot. It's much easier and everyone's going to know what you're talking about. All right, so let's talk about where Pinot Noir comes from. Where does it grow? In California, let's talk about Sonoma County, Monterey County, Santa Barbara County. Notice all of those are generally along the coastal ranges, along the cooler climate. So Pinot Noir really does well in cold climates. It can grow in warmer climates like Napa or even the Central Valley of California, just not as good quality. So you want Pinot Noir to grow in a cooler region. Other places that it grows really well, the Willamette Valley in Oregon, the southern island of New Zealand makes fantastic Pinot Noir, and I would be completely remiss if I did not mention Burgundy, which is the homeland of Pinot Noir. In fact, the region Burgundy is where Pinot Noir grows. It's a very cool climate there as well, and in fact, it's where some of the most famous and most expensive wines in the world come from. Yes, Pinot Noir is incredibly expensive when it comes from Burgundy. Noteworthy as well, two other favorite wines of mine use Pinot Noir in the making. One is in Champagne, France, so to the north of Burgundy, another very cool climate region. Pinot Noir grows there. It's one of the three grape varieties that go into Champagne typically. It's usually Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay that go into making Champagne. I've got a bottle of our rosé here, our Switchback rosé, because rosé is often made from Pinot Noir. In fact, this one is made from Pinot Noir. And it makes a beautiful wine. The color is incredible. And the fruit characteristics that come from Pinot Noir, when you make it into a rosé, it's just super delicate. You get everything that you get in the darker red wine of Pinot. But when you make it into a rosé, they're so delicate, so light, fresh, bright, super, super fun wine. So, all right, so that's where it comes from, that's where it grows, and those are the kinds of wines that get made from it. So let's talk next about the style of Pinot Noir. And really, I think it's probably easiest to break them down into the lighter style and the riper style. The lighter style is cranberries, red cherries, crab apples, light amount of oak, vanilla, baking spices. You'll find those there, but they're going to be on the lighter side of those things. Riper styles of Pinot Noir would be black cherries, plums, even pruny kind of plums. You'll find more weight on the palate. You'll probably find a lot more oak in the wine as well. Even some really kind of sweet vanilla characteristics will show up in the riper styles of Pinot Noir. and you may even sense some perception of sweetness in those wines, and we'll see if we find that here today. So really, again, the flavors and aromas of Pinot Noir, lighter, more red, darker, riper style is going to be darker fruit. That's pretty simple. More often than not, Pinot Noir is a dry wine, meaning it has no residual sugar, no sugar into the wine. You will find examples, and we might have some here today, of Pinot Noir that are sweet, that either have had sugar left in them by the winemaker or have had sugar added back to them by the winemaker. Nothing's wrong with it. It's just a style preference. And there are many consumers that like sweet wines. So you'll find the full range of very dry to somewhat sweet Pinot Noir when you talk about sugar. Alcohol levels for Pinot Noir can range from 12 to as high as 15%. 12 is on the lower end, 15 very, very high for Pinot Noir. It really is a winemaker preference, a style preference. Most Pinot Noir will be in the 13 to 14 range. Somewhere in there is pretty standard. You'll see a little bit of variation in what we have here today. So how about the body of the wine, the palate of the wine? Typically, Pinot Noir is a lighter styled wine. The skins of the grape berries themselves are fairly thin, meaning that there isn't a lot of color in them and there's very little tannin in them. When you have those two in combination on the lighter side of things, you end up with a lighter colored wine and wine that is fairly light on the body. So light to medium body is pretty typical for Pinot Noir. Most Pinot Noir are aged with or in oak. And so you will find some baking spices, some vanilla, some oaky characteristics. Again, lighter style Pinot Noir will have less of that. The bigger, riper styles are going to have more oak characteristics in them. So anyway, that's a generalization, but a pretty good set of descriptors for the grape variety Pinot Noir. So next, let's talk about how to serve Pinot Noir and what to serve it in. We've got some stemware with us here today, and obviously the stemless and the stem here. What's important is not whether it has a stem or not. What's important is the shape of the glass. So it's a really wide opening and a very wide bowl. Both are intended to get as much oxygen into the glass. So when you swirl it, you're aerating the wine. That helps the wine aroma and flavor come alive within the glass and then on your palate and in your nose. So it helps in the enjoyment of the wine. So the wide burgundy shaped glass is key. But honestly, drink it out of whatever you have and whatever is comfortable for you. Serving temperature, it's nice to serve Pinot Noir between 55 and 65 Fahrenheit. Again, we're going to drink it at room temperature here. It's probably close to 70 degrees in this room, and it's going to be just fine. We're not going to break any rules here today. We could spend all day talking about the foods that pair with Pinot Noir, and much has been made of that. We're not going to go deep into it other than to say the usual foods that go really well with Pinot Noir are pork, I happen to love it with duck. Tuna tartare actually goes really, really well with this. Mushrooms of any type, fantastic with Pinot. And if you're not into the mushroom or the fish or meat kind of thing, cheese. Cheese, you just can't go wrong with cheese and Pinot Noir. So take a look at those, but again, we could spend all day. We're not going to do that, so let's keep going. All right, so next, let's dive into our tasting. We've got 3 wines here. I'm going to get them all poured up here in the glasses here in a second, but first, let's run through what we have. We have first the Mark West 2022 Pinot Noir from California. Actually, both of these wines are from California. And what that means is that the grapes can come from anywhere within California. They're Pinot Noir, but the grapes can be grown anywhere in California. So that's the first one. The Mark West is $10 a bottle. Next up, Kendall Jackson Vintners Reserve Pinot Noir, also 2022 vintage from California. This bottle retails for $20 a bottle. So we've got double what the Mark West is. And finally, of course, we have our Lost Sierra wine single track Pinot Noir. This is 2022 vintage, and it is from the Russian River Valley here in Sonoma County. So this retails for $40 a bottle. So $10, $20, and $40 bottle, 2 California appellated wines, and then 1 very tight region within Sonoma County, the Russian River Valley. So let me get these poured up and we'll get into the tasting. Okay, we've got all our wines poured up here, so let's dive into it. First up, the 2022 Mark West California Pinot, $10 a bottle. Take a look at the color. Pretty dark, hard to see through this, so pretty dark in color. And wow, yeah, just tons of really sweet vanilla oak coming out of this. There is some fruit in there, but it leads with that sweet vanilla oak up front. More black plum, black cherry kind of thing as we talked about, but toasty, roasty oak, and yeah, just tons of sweet vanilla. As expected, as you would expect, the aromas carry into the palate. So there's some fruit that I'm getting. It's relatively minimal. It's really all about the oak. Tons of sweet vanilla oak, baking spices, and then it's a long finish, and it's still tasting it. And then there's a coating on the palate. So this wine definitely has some sugar left in the wine, or added back, either way. But hey, it's a well-made wine, and for $10, if this is your style of Pinot Noir, it's a great deal, and can't go wrong with that. All right, next up, Kendall Jackson Vintners Reserve 2022. Let's check this one out. It's a little lighter in color, not as dark or opaque as the Mark West. Yeah, nice fruit. So leads with fruit, little toastiness in the background. I don't get any vanilla out of that. Red cherry, cranapple, a little plum. Somewhat simple. It's sort of there's a few dimensions to it, but it's not super complex. Classic style though. It smells good. Yeah, well-made wine. It's clean, a little simple. I get it. The fruit and the oak on the front of the palate and the weight on the middle of the palate. But as it goes through the back, it just kind of falls off. So not super complex. It's a nice classic style Pinot Noir from California. And for $20, you can't go wrong with this. It's well made again. Just not going to win any great awards because it's just not super complex and doesn't highlight any one particular region. All right, let's move on. I will try not to be too biased, but our Lost Sierra Wine Co. Single track Pinot Noir from Russian River Valley. So all the grapes coming from one region here in Sonoma County. So a nice red cherry color to it, not too dark, not too light. Yep, cranberries, cran cherry, cran apple, red cherry fruit, fresh, like really fresh, just picked off the tree, fresh cherries. That's what it smells like. Hints of oak, but not over the top, so that's fairly light in oak. And just what I love about this wine, what I love about this wine is the balance of it. So you get that fruit in the middle and on the front of the palate, and it carries all the way to the back. Just really, really nice balance. There's lots of nuances to this. You get the fruit, you get a little bit of oak, you get some sort of tertiary flavors, and which is complexity. So you get some complexity in this wine that you just don't see in these. And that's what comes from a wine sourced from a single region. And makes it worth $40, frankly. It's a much more interesting wine that's going to evolve over time. This wine's going to age really well as well. So there you go. A 10, a 20, a $40 bottle of wine. Very different styles, all made from the same grape Pinot Noir. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video and you want to see more, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next week's video. Cheers.